Welcome to Sideline Sisters, where we empower women in sports one conversation at a time. We celebrate the women who make the WNBA legendary while providing our unfiltered thoughts and analysis on the game. Winsider is expanding its network to include more diverse voices that are knowledgeable and passionate about the WNBA. Hear from the women who are redefining WNBA coverage and hoops talk.
I'm Jasmine Harper.
And I'm Ace Pedraza, and you're courtside with the Sideline Sisters. So, welcome back, everybody. Thank you once again for tuning into Sideline Sisters. We're your co-hosts, Ace Pedraza and Jasmine Harper. Jasmine, how are you doing?
It is Thursday, April 10th, 6 o'clock Eastern time. I'm doing pretty well. Had a very busy day. A lot of changes are happening with Winsider, and our social media team has grown tremendously. So we've been able to get Winsider on TikTok. We're growing on Blue Sky, reinforcing our brand message on Instagram and X/Twitter, however you want to call it. So yeah, very busy days, but definitely a good day. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agreed. If you guys haven't tapped into Winsider's TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, wherever you like to consume your social media, Winsider has definitely revamped its social image, and that has been because of a lot of hard work from Jasmine and like the entire social team at Winsider. So please check it out. Subscribe /follow /repost or whatever it is that you do on those respective social media apps. And I sound very old talking about social media. I'm only on Blue Sky at the moment, so and I think it's showing. But we have so much to talk about in this first episode, just because there has been so much going on this offseason with the W. And then, of course, we also just saw the NCAA tournament wrap up. And that's going to lead right into the WNBA Draft, which is happening on April 14th. And that's Monday. Like Jasmine said, we're recording on a Thursday, so pretty soon. But the biggest topic that we were trying to dive into first with you guys is, of course, Unrivaled. We didn't get a chance to talk about it in season, but Unrivaled was very clearly a pretty big success. I feel like not just for women's basketball, but for how other leagues might be looking to try to pay their players if they're underpaid, trying to keep their players, close to home, especially, and be able to give them opportunities, whether it's sponsorships or otherwise. And also just huge for the WNBA. I saw that one thing I did notice that before we got on here that the WNBA was starting to do is that they were announcing players attending the draft one by one. I was like, that's a little familiar.
Did I miss
very
that?
familiar. Yeah, I saw that they were going to announce attendees, I think, starting tomorrow. And I was like, that is very Unrivaled-esque. So they're already starting to get some, imitation. It just, as they say, very flattering. And it makes sense that the WNBA is trying to definitely capitalize on that momentum because they should.
As they should, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. And so let's just dive right into it. Rose BC obviously won the whole thing. Chelsea Gray, who we gave flowers to last episode, was a big part of why. What did you think of, I guess, just in general, the players that they brought on for the inaugural season?
Yeah, overall, I think the 36 players that they chose for their inaugural season were pretty strong candidates. We definitely wanted to see, some Caitlin Clark and the Asia Wilsons of the world. But we still got to see Breanna Stewart. We still got to see Chelsea Gray. They call her the 305 Barbie in Unrivaled, Angel Reese. Even Kayla McBride, that was a player who I was really surprised by, who had a lot of success in Unrivaled. Especially coming off a championship run with the Lynx. It was very impressive for her to still kind of keep going a couple months after the finals had ended. And a couple other players that I enjoyed seeing was BG. She had a really big night one night playing for the Phantom. Very impressed by her. Kate Martin. Who doesn't love Kate Martin?
I know.
Hate to see her go off my Vegas team, but excited for what she has in store for year two. And the bucket herself, Courtney Williams. I mean, personality of the year, hootie hoos. I was part of the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
I loved everything about what Unrivaled did this season in its very first year out. And also, I want to give a little props to Stewie and Fee for putting this together, yeah, but also taking an extra year to put in the proper investment that comes along with Unrivaled, because we're seeing a lot of the benefits that come out of it: the marketing, the jersey sales, the arena. Now I think they're looking in year 2 to go bigger with that one and to relocate outside of Miami, but keep Miami as the home base. So I think a lot of good things came out of Unrivaled this season. And yeah, I think it's a good way for WNBA players to get ramped up before they come in, get your legs loose and things like that. And then they also have like player compensation, which is a major factor right now with women's sports. Sorry. So I'm just really impressed, and people can say what they want about it. If you have anything negative to say about Unrivaled, I consider you a personal hater of mine, because that was some of the best basketball that we've seen in like a very long time. Like sometimes we don't even get that in the WNBA because it's 5-on-5, so certain players can hide on the court, but when the top players of the league come together and play 3-on-3, it's a different kind of basketball for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like the 3-on-3 part of it, you could tell with, some of the players had participated in 3-on-3 basketball, like in the Olympics. Like you had Dearica Hamby, who I'm sure was already super comfortable with the playing style, but most of Unrivaled had no experience having played like that before. And I feel like it kind of showed earlier on in the season, but once they started to figure out like, oh, this is like how we should be defending. This is why, bigs who are really good at scoring in transition are going to be so big for our success. I think that's why Angel Reese saw a lot of success in the league, for example. Like, it was very cool to just see these already amazing WNBA players like reach a different level with something that was like very clearly out of most of their comfort zones.
Definitely.
So that was awesome. And I think that the fact that they still want to improve on the league is such a big deal. And a lot of the things that they had mentioned wanting to improve upon made a lot of sense to me when I first heard it, like in terms of making it so that the audience was a little bit clearer to the viewer at home, because I know sometimes I was watching games and I'm like, I hear them, but where are
but you
they?
didn't see them at all.
Like all you see is just like the little tunnels in the back, some media members, the cameras, whatever. But I knew that behind the camera, there was, a huge crowd behind. And I wish that they could have shown that, because, not to say, oh, well, it justifies any argument that you said the haters would come up with when it came to this league. But I want them to be able to see, like, no, you're completely wrong, because this did have a huge, huge turnout. And I mean, the tickets were wildly expensive, but,
Yes.
and that's because they were in high demand. But
Yeah,
I'm excited to see. Yeah.
Fee and Stewie, if you can, let's lower the prices in year 2.
Please.
So, like, I live in Florida, and those ticket prices were expensive for me.
They were wild. I saw a lot of them on like the resale market going for like $500 or more. I was like, oh,
yes,
no.
And it was a packed house
all.
every night. House every night, despite the amount that the tickets were. So, like, that's also pretty impressive. And it speaks to the level of basketball talent that they're playing with there, especially in year 1.
Absolutely. I think that it speaks to that, and also maybe like bring a WNBA team to Florida, possibly, maybe.
Listen, I'm here for it. There are a couple bids. Kathy Engelbert, if you're listening, let's not pick the Jacksonville, Florida bid. I would advise against it. Let's go Orlando, Tampa, Miami, somewhere a little bit more scenic. Not here. No, absolutely
valid. Super valid. And I guess just like a final note on Unrivaled, like some of the numbers that you had pulled, they made over $27 million according to Front Office Sports, which is wild. That was due in large part to their deal with TNT. They averaged 221,000 viewers during the season. So for an off season, that's also pretty great.
Yes.
364,000 during the title game, which is fantastic as well. And then just the insurance payments, the actual compensation for players, the 1v1 prize pool. I mean, definitely, again, shout out to Stewie and Fee because they definitely made sure that players were taken care of, which was
Yeah.
great. That was awesome to see.
Yeah, and especially with like the injury that happened to Benaja Laney. The New York Liberty
Mm-hmm.
recently announced that she had surgery on one of her knees, and I believe they announced that it happened during her time where she was playing in Unrivaled. But Benaja was paid enough salary in Unrivaled, even as a relief player, to come in and still cover her if she was unable to play. Sorry, during the WNBA season, and her contract was suspended. So
Right.
like that's pretty dope of Stewie and Feet, and kind of goes back to what I was saying about that extra year of taking time to really find the sponsors and things like that. Cause first of all, y'all made 27 million in revenue and almost broke even.
In the
That's
first year.
crazy sponsorship, right? That's crazy sponsorship, lots of revenue. And yeah, Feet is also the 1v1 winner. Her and Stewie just really did something different. And I love when players take power of their careers and the trajectory of their lives. Like maybe Stewie and Fee want to be commissioners one day of
Mm-hmm.
Unrivaled, and they don't necessarily want to continue to play basketball. This is another avenue for WNBA players to have success after their careers on the court. So I think Unrivaled, it's just a lot of benefits that came from it. Like that's why I was like, if you're a hater, I'm sorry. Maybe women's basketball just isn't for you. We can
Yeah,
find you another hobby if you like.
truly. There's many other things for you to watch. I
Mm-hmm,
promise.
mm-hmm.
Great point. And I guess transitioning into another big topic about the WNBA offseason, other than Unrivaled, we also had a pretty wild free agency that happened before we started
Wild.
this up. Like, wild might not even be the right word for it, just because
Heartbreaking, crushing,
heartbreak,
spirit
yes.
crushing.
Yeah, understandable. For me, amazing, filled me with joy.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was very, very, very interesting to see how much player movement happened in this very, critical year where it's
Yep.
the last year of this current CBA. Players signing to pretty decent 1 year deals. Obviously, teams are just trying to go all in right now before
Mm-hmm.
things change completely in terms of
Yeah.
spending, trades, cap space, what have you. So that made it even spicier, which is the fact that we see which teams are trying to really go all in. Phoenix is the one team for me that definitely comes to mind in that respect, just because I was not expecting them to go in on not just Satu, but also Alyssa
Yeah.
Thomas and just completely retool after, I guess, a disappointing season in 2024. So what are your initial thoughts just like on how this free agency has gone so far? And as we're still waiting on a couple of other players to be signed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I will let you guys know now. I only speak subjectively about the aces. Everybody else is objective. And sometimes even with the aces, I'll remove my bias if I can tell that I'm being a little extra. The Kelsey Plum trade in exchange for
Mm,
Jewell Loyd between the Seattle Storm, the Los Angeles Sparks, and the Las Vegas Aces was one of which it was expected that Kelsey might have wanted to leave, but I didn't think it was on the scale of Jewell also leaving, but that was coming off of the
mm-hmm.
heels of an investigation happening with the Storm. Everything just kind of happened so quickly. But altogether, that trade was really the first domino to fall. And once we saw Jewell going to the Aces, Kelsey going to the Sparks, Lee Rue going to the Storm with the number 2 pick, I think everybody realized like it's every man for themselves out here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and everybody's trying to compete now. If I can go to a team that's a little bit stacked, maybe compete for a ring, and then maybe go somewhere else in 2026, a lot of people don't see the issue with that. And I don't either. I see the value in trying to go all in 1 year because you never really know. Like the 2021 Chicago Sky, when they went on that championship run, I believe they were an 8th seed when the playoffs started, and
Mm-hmm.
Candace Parker brought a championship with Courtney Vandersloot and Ka. Like that's that's like an example of a year where you never know what could happen. So
Right.
it's like, I definitely understand the player movement, but Kelsey, you didn't have to break my heart like that. Like, I'm part of the dog class. Like, I'm on the sidelines barking with you and Tom Brady. Like, what are we supposed to do now? But all in all, no, I'm very excited for Kelsey Plum to see her in a different role.
Mhm.
She wants to be that girl. She wants to be that girl in the court. She wants
Yeah.
to be the number one option. And I totally understand it and get it. Like, Kelsey is definitely a first team all WNBA caliber player. We know that the bigs kind of get the nod in this league, but there are guards that certainly put themselves out there and compete on a different level day in and day out. And I think Kelsey Plum is one of them.
100%. I feel like the Sparks are going to be a lot better than what many might project them to be heading into this season. I only say that because of Kelsey Plum. In addition to the work that I know that she's going to get done with Cam Brink and Regia, and I remember watching the Sparks last year, and I was like, they have such a depth to them. They just are missing that one piece that could really get them over that hump of going from fringe 8 or 7 or even 6 seed to being in the postseason. And Kelsey Plum is kind of like the perfect move in that respect. I love it for them. I do agree with you. And I'm not an Aces fan. I like the Aces a lot. I'm not an Aces fan specifically, but
okay, Ace, you don't have to clarify for it.
But I will say, I also was kind of confused about the trade-off because it just feels like it felt like a very even exchange, right? It didn't really feel like, not that the Aces didn't get better because Jewell Loyd is an incredible player.
Correct.
But it just feels interesting to me in terms of, I'm very curious to see what her role is alongside Chelsea Gray. I don't know. I think the Aces are going to be great, as they always are. But I'm very curious to see how Jewell Loyd fits into their system. Other notable free agency moves that happen, as I mentioned, Satu Sabale to Phoenix, Melissa Thomas to Phoenix, DeWanna Bonner to Indiana was a little bit surprising to me.
Yes, that was a curveball.
Yeah, absolutely. I anticipated a return to Phoenix, and then she just said, "No, let me go over here."
But I can't blame her though. Like, that's sort of what we talk about with the Caitlin Clark effect, which I'm probably sure we're going to get into a lot this upcoming season, considering just who Caitlin is and what she brings to this game. A lot of people want to play with her. And I can't blame DeWanna Bonner for wanting to return to, Indiana, but also she's with Steph White. She's with a coach that she trusts and worked with tremendously last year, who she also came off the bench for. So I feel like those different factors kind of swayed her decision a little bit more instead of going to Phoenix.
Definitely. And then seeing their other moves, they signed Natasha Howard as well. And I feel like I'm blanking on another move.
Sophie got traded to Indiana.
Right. And then Sid Colson. Sorry. Also,
oh my gosh, Sid.
I was like, oh no. But also she definitely did. Yeah. No, she is in Indiana, which looks so weird. She looks not right in an Indiana jersey. She needs to be on the Aces. They need to
Thank you for saying that for me.
She just doesn't, I don't know. Anyway, so that was Indiana's offseason. Tejanay Carrington and Alyssa Smith both landed in Dallas via trade. Courtney Vandersloot and Rebecca Allen went back to Chicago. Ariel Atkins also went to Chicago, which I think is a really interesting fit. Gabby Williams went back to Seattle, and Natasha Cloud got traded to New York, which I think is a excellent fit for them. So, with all of these wild moves, are there any potential contenders before the season kicks off that you feel like jump out at you?
I hate to admit it, but I'm always one of those people who's going to give credit where it's due. New York, if you're trying to run it back, I'm not mad at the moves that you made. Izzy Harrison, Natasha Cloud. I understand the loss of Courtney Vandersloot for sure, but I think the issue with Courtney was that she didn't want to come off the bench and felt like that she still could play a prominent role. And I understand that from her perspective being a veteran with like championship experience and things like that, but also maybe this specific expertise and style of basketball that you want to play just doesn't fit what New York is trying to do like for the future. I definitely think that Courtney's contribution to New York definitely put them in a better place. But I think coming out of training camp, you guys are going to be, in my opinion, the top contender. And then it's everybody else. I think the Aces are definitely going to be competitive. I'm not really sure about our bench right now. I still have a lot of question marks, and we're supposed to get some extra help for A'ja Wilson in the post. And I'm not saying that the options that we got were bad or anything like that, but it's always nice to have a big name next to a big star. I have been pushing for Kalani Brown to go to the Las Vegas Aces and play alongside A'ja Wilson. Brittany Griner was also on the market this free agency, and she ended up in Atlanta. So while I think the Aces have some work to do throughout the season, I would still have them as one of my top contenders. So automatically New York, I'll keep Aces in there because with Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, Jewell Loyd, A'ja Wilson, I mean, like, what can't be done there? And then the Minnesota Lynx. They didn't really have to make too many moves this offseason. Running it back is always a good decision. We've seen that with championships, like the Liberty are trying to keep their core. The Aces, for the most part, aside from Kelsey Plum, have kept their core together for a few years. So I think everybody's headed in the right direction. One team that I will throw out there that's kind of like a dark horse, in my opinion, the Seattle Storm. I love me some Skylar Diggins-Smith and Nneka Ogwumike, and I think what they're building in Seattle with Gabby Williams, they're always going to be a threat to anybody they face on any given night. And it's Ezzy season. Ezzy.
Yeah.
Ozzy.
Oh my God.
Love her. And then also with the draft implications, Dominique Malonga may be headed to the Seattle Storm. That's another threat, another generational threat that they're going to have in the post if they draft her. So I'm very excited at the possibilities with the Storm. So I'll definitely say Seattle, New York, Vegas, and Minnesota. What about you?
I was going to say literally the same.
Oh.
Same. Because, like with Minnesota, like you said, they're running it back. When you have the ability to have that consistency from team to team, especially when you just got to the finals and you lost game 5 in overtime after a very questionable foul call.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the only separation potentially between you having a ring and not having a ring. Then there's no, I feel like, real need to make major change.
Right.
So I feel like they had one of the best free agencies just based on the fact that they didn't overreact to that finals loss. And they said, let's just keep the core together. We have Napheesa Collier, who's a perpetual MVP candidate, perpetual Defensive Player of the Year candidate, a first team player. We have pieces around her that fit very well. Let's not do anything. That was a great move from them. So they're definitely on my list, the top 3. I would say New York as well for the same or similar reasons. They re-signed Marine Johannes too, and she's going to be very key to running the bench unit, and that's the role that Courtney Vandersloot left empty. So that will be really fun to see, especially with her and Izzy. I think they will work very well together. And so New York, keeping the band together, 10 out of 10. Adding Natasha Cloud, 11 out of 10. Great moves all around. The Aces, like you said, I would have loved to have seen them go after BG or Bree Jones, and both of them went to Atlanta.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Bree Jones going to Atlanta. I forgot Connecticut just blew up their whole entire team.
The whole starting 5 for Connecticut is gone.
Except Marina Mabry.
And then Marina Mabry is just there like, please trade me. And they're like, no, heart emoji, not happening. Sorry. So it's wild that, Bree Jones and BG both were not, maybe, Vegas tried to sign them, maybe not, no idea. But those two were in my mind as like perfect fits for them. Um, Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I think Vegas, like Minnesota, will be fine just because they have the postseason experience. They have veterans on the team who are built for it, just in general. And like you said, you have Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, you have Jewell Loyd. Like, you're fine. You're gonna be fine. Jackie Young. Oh my goodness. Like, you have great pieces. There's no way that
We
team isn't
have
gonna make
the Olympics basketball team on the
it
Aces.
right. Exactly. So Vegas is always a contender in my mind. Like you said, Seattle, if they take Dominique Malonga, like, that is such a game changer for them because, oof, I was watching film of her the other day, just because I was just curious to watch more of her stuff, and I was like totally blown away. And imagining how she's gonna fit with them is like, I I'm scared of Seattle if they take her, because I'm just like, that is like a perfect fit outside of like maybe Olivia Miles, who we could dive into like college stuff now,
In
but
a little
like
bit. Oh.
she would have been, or yeah, in a little bit, but she would have been a great fit for them. But like, oh my goodness, yeah, they if they take Malonga, that is going to be an excellent fit for them. And then
Yeah.
Dallas,
Also,
their moves with Paige is going to be a pretty good team.
um,
No.
so I'm not gonna sit here and say that Paige fixes all of Dallas's problems. I don't
Yeah.
believe that by a long shot. But will she bring them something that they haven't had in a while? Yes. I was talking to my WNBA friends earlier because we were talking about like the different moves and who fits what team when it comes to the draft and things like that. And somebody was like, why isn't Dominique Malonga being taken first? Well, while she may be still a generational player, Paige Bueckers is somebody who has been on the WNBA market, like where teams and general managers have been waiting to get her for years. So I definitely understand the Wings taking her first, but the Arike Agumbawale of it all.
Yeah.
This is still essentially her team, and Arike takes a lot of shots during games. Dallas is going to have a stacked roster. They have Dejanay Carrington now. They have Nelissa Smith, Maisha Hines Allen, Tierra McCowan is still there. They still have a bunch of draft picks and training camp contracts that they have to sort out. So while I think Paige answers a lot of their needs in the backcourt, I do think overall Dallas is going to have an uphill battle because they still have a new coach. Chris Kokonis is coming in with Kurt Miller, and he's been an assistant coach, especially with USC. So now he's at the helm of a franchise that has the number one overall pick under Greg Bibb, and it's Enrique's team. So I just think they'll definitely have some things to kind of like, have some
Work
decisions to
out.
think about. Yeah, definitely.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah. I would like to think that eventually like the chemistry will build between them, but I absolutely see what you mean. And I feel like, yeah, ironically, Dominique Malunga would be like a better fit for Dallas. But
Yeah, especially if they wanted to keep the ball in Enrique's hand, I definitely see the investment in, the front court. But also, you took Charlie Collier at number one in 2021 and couldn't develop her. And essentially, like, she's not even in the league anymore. So I
right.
think a person like Paige going into Dallas kind of makes Dallas realize, like, yeah, we can't mess this up. If we mess
No.
this up, yeah, they might take our franchise away from us, give it to Houston or like something like that.
Right. Yeah. Dallas, you are on the clock in a lot of different ways. Don't mess up Paige and that pick, please. But we could, yeah, I guess we could dive into the picks and the draft and everything college related since that just finished up. NCAA tournament was excellent this year. I was sad to not have been able to see a deeper USC run because of Juju Watkins's unfortunate ACL tear,
Yeah.
and I know she'll be back literally just the same.
Hmm.
And it's just unfortunate she wasn't able to be with the team for their run
Yeah.
because it kind of felt like Kiki might have been able to actually push them to at least a
Yeah.
Final Four appearance, but it didn't shake out, which is fine. Or it did, sorry. It didn't shake out beyond that. But
Hmm.
it was a really fun tournament. The final game was not as fun as I thought it was going to be. I thought the
Yeah.
championship game would be a lot more back and forth, a lot of great defense played. Instead, it was just total dominance by UConn,
Yeah.
mostly just because South Carolina just had a cold afternoon and just that led to the loss. Like that basically kind of felt like that was it. Like they were getting good looks, they just couldn't get them to fall. And then
Hmm.
UConn was just hitting everything. Sarah Strong especially was
Yes.
just on one, and she definitely established herself as a very big name to watch
Hmm.
after this like Paige Bueckers era of UConn basketball. Her and AZ Fudd are going to be ridiculous next year, and that was
Running
just
it
a
back one more year.
yeah, absolutely, which as they should. And I'm super excited for that. For South Carolina, it was very cool to see that, all right, like we did drop this game. Let's do what we do, which is to say, make some improvements to the team. Very attractive destination. I'm sure many players do want to play for Dawn Staley.
Hmm.
And Tania Latson just committed to South Carolina. And so that's a big
A
addition to
birdie
the
just
team.
flew in the nest.
Yes, exactly. Which I now know means South Carolina after getting completely cooked
Oh my gosh,
on
was that
Twitter.
you?
That was me. That was
Oh
like,
wow.
dude, that was like, yeah, that was like when Unrivaled first started to like announce their players,
Uh-huh.
and it was like a bird, and I was like, oh, like I wonder which bird it could mean. Like there are so many bird mascots in college, and like I had so many South Carolina fans in my mentions. Like, are you dumb? I was like, I might be. I'm sorry.
It just one
And
brain
yeah,
fart. It doesn't normally happen.
it doesn't normally happen. After it was pointed out, I was like, yep, makes sense. I have seen that many times before. Not my best day. Not why I deactivated Twitter, but it was a close that was a close call. But I'm super excited for South Carolina to continue their dominance. And then other players of note, Flaujae Johnson, she's staying another year with LSU. She was maybe going to
Hmm.
declare, which would have been very interesting
Yeah.
because I think right now she'd be a top pick. Next year, she will still be a top pick. Olivia Miles, on the other hand, went from being somebody that we all kind of assumed would
Hmm.
have declared for the draft to actually, I'm leaving Notre Dame and I'm going to go commit to TCU and I'm
Yeah.
foregoing the draft.
Wild.
So that is very wild to me because she was projected to be the number 2 pick. She was
Hmm.
projected to at least go to Seattle.
And what's wrong
So
with
that, yeah.
Seattle, Olivia? Did you not want to
Yeah.
go? Do you not
It's,
like
it,
Twilight? Like, what is it?
yeah, that was very interesting to me because I'm like, you're good. Like you're established as a top prospect. She would have fit very well with Seattle for the same reasons I feel like Paige would have fit very well with Seattle.
Yeah.
They need someone like her in terms of guard play, and I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
I do have a
TCU's, yeah.
question for you.
Okay, I hope I can answer
So
it.
I've been seeing again, because I'm not the most college savvy person, but I
Yeah.
have seen people saying that Olivia Miles and a lot of other college players are returning back to their schools or transferring in the portal because of NIL. So I
Mm,
understand that what a lot of athletes get in NIL, it's directly tied to their school. But at a certain point, especially if you're a Caitlin Clark, a Paige Bueckers, or even I would have even thought Olivia Miles, you can negotiate for those deals to follow you past the college level. So I wanted to know
yeah.
what you thought about that because when I saw that on the timeline, I was just kind of like, ew. But also at the same time,
Yeah.
I understand that we have to have these different kind of conversations because players have options now. They don't have to go to the WNBA or find something else to do once they finish basketball. Like a lot of players have eligibility left and they want to use it.
Right. I feel like with her specifically, from my understanding, it was kind of like a twofold thing. Part of it was, and this is like just speculative from, social media and things like that, things she was posting or reposting or things like that. She seemed to have a potential issue with playing with Hannah Hidalgo. And so I think that was probably part of why she maybe wanted a different season on a different team, especially after Notre Dame went from being like almost it felt like lock to be a Final Four team to falling much earlier than that point in the tournament. So to me, it seems like she just wanted another year to be able to win in college. And TCU has established itself as a pretty, solid program.
Yeah.
Um, even with Hailey Van Lith leaving, it's still going to be a very good team. And I feel like she fills that hole that Hailey Van Lith is leaving. So there was like that one part. The second part is that I kept reading that apparently Texas college sports money is super long.
Oh,
So
really?
that was what I was seeing. I'm not familiar with that in terms of just like Texas colleges apparently
Yeah.
being so flush with cash that, they are very appealing in that respect and as it
Hmm.
pertains to the NIL. So that would make sense to me too, that she would decide to go play for TCU because
Yeah.
presumably she was able to get a bag to be able to play there for another year too. So I guess it's sort
Hmm.
of like it could be a twofold thing where she wants to win and she was able to get maybe more money
Hmm.
playing in Texas.
I can definitely see that because a lot of these older, prestigious colleges, their money is long. This is
Mm-hmm.
old money. These are alumni whose family, whose entire lineage attends these colleges and
Right.
universities, and they donate back into them. So I could definitely see that. I just hope that as women's basketball grows on the college and the WNBA level, these conversations become a little bit easier to have. And it's not like a lot of back and forth that we could just understand, like, yeah, if I was a college player, college athlete, I might want to go back for an extra nearly $500,000. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I also think there is value in transitioning to the next level where I'm getting paid 87K to play in the summertime for, from May to September or to October. Like a lot of people don't even make that like within a year or sometimes in their lifetime. So I think that we just have to understand the scale of where women's basketball is at right now. But I definitely think this is a good entryway into, just making things a little bit more cohesive for everybody.
Right. And I think that it's interesting because I'm thinking about it too, and I think a part of it could also be that they're waiting. Players like Olivia Miles or Flaujae are waiting for the CBA to be
Yeah.
finalized,
Hmm.
and that's fair because maybe they just want to see where rookie deals are going to be set at
Hmm.
after this season because everything is going to shoot up in terms of
Yeah.
pay as it should.
Hmm.
And so I'm, very curious to see if maybe that is a reason why players like them who are like pretty clearly W ready are choosing to just take that fifth year, just choosing to
Right.
stay in college just to see where that ends up going or which direction that goes in. Um,
Hmm.
and we've already had some players say that they're very comfortable with there being a work stoppage too if they're unable to get what they're looking for in
Yeah.
the next CBA. So, which, yeah, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm of the mindset like I'm always players first.
mhm.
Never really because I understand like media sometimes they have their own agenda. Owners have their own agenda. Front office people have their own agenda. So whatever makes the life of the athlete easier, yeah, why go against it? As long as it's reasonable, like I don't understand why they would say no. And I think the players kind of have leverage right now when it comes to CBA negotiations because look at where the W is at. Everybody wants
Yeah.
to cover it. Everybody wants to attend a game or be sitting courtside with the girlies, taking pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited. The end of this season is going to be very interesting.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%. And then I guess just to like finish out, I know we just had a huge big board get posted to Winsider. If you haven't seen it on our TikTok, we have Christian talking about it on the TikTok. We also have the actual big board posted in there as well. Also on the website, if you want to read a more in-depth reasoning behind the tiers and the whole board itself. I loved it. I love to see Dominique Malonga getting her flowers because I really, in my heart, feel like she will be. I'm not going to be surprised if she either gets like second place or is very close to getting, or actually just wins Rookie of the Year outright. Because
really?
I feel like she is. I have very high hopes for her in the league. I just feel like she is just like one of one in terms of just like her skill set heading into the league. If utilized correctly. And if she goes to Seattle, I feel like she will realize that potential just because I don't see how her fit with Skylar Diggins-Smith wouldn't be like very seamless.
Right. And studying with Ezzy, Nneka, Gabby Williams, Alicia Clark. Like, she's going to learn so much from elite veterans. Like, it's going to be priceless. I only know about her because of my close friend, Alfred Corriette, who covers at her Hoop Stats. He told me about her like a couple months ago, but he watches overseas ball religiously. So he knows about all the overseas players in the draft. He kind of like, puts me onto them. And so I've been learning a little bit more about her game. The fact that she's only even 19 is wild.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
that freaked me out.
Her length, her size, her wingspan, like, yes. I love it. Like, this is what the WNBA needs. And I'm excited to have more overseas players come inside the W. Like, I feel like this is the best league of women's professional basketball players. So any chance that we get to expand and bring in other hoopers who are just as talented, like, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. No. And I'm super excited for that. Like, obviously, very excited to see how Paige does in the league and just making that transition finally that I feel like everyone's been waiting for her to make. And I feel like this is a really deep class, despite like a few players not declaring when we thought they might.
I'm 50-50 about the depth because I feel like if it was that deep, some of the GMs wouldn't be willing to trade away first round picks like that. Like the number 2, 3, 7, I think that's like even 4 or 5. Washington has like 3 or 4 picks in the first round. Like, I understand that they might need their picks a little bit more compared to everybody else. So I definitely understand them drafting, 3, 4 players in the first round. But it's like at the same time, maybe they knew ahead of time that a lot of players were considering not coming out of the draft this year. So maybe that's also like another angle to it.
That's true. Yeah. That is very wild. When you look at the draft order itself, it's like 50% Washington and Connecticut. So they're going to just have like the rookie class for the most part rostered. And then you have just like a sprinkling of other teams. Like New York just gave up their pick. I thought for the longest time they were going to try to get maybe like a rookie shooter or just somebody to have on the bench as like a depth piece. No. So which is fine. But this is going to be very interesting. I'm curious to see like who's able to stick to a roster just because I know that there's often a lot of movement after the draft and like after training camp that does happen. And I feel like I only feel super sure about maybe like the top 5 or top 7 picks as starters or just like important players to their teams from this draft. Past maybe then I'm a little iffy.
Yeah. I can see that. I don't, and I usually know a little bit more names than the first round people. I don't really know too many people who are going to get drafted outside of the first round that may stick around on a roster.
Yeah.
But it does give people the opportunity to get drafted to attend a training camp and knows what goes into it in case you may be asked back next year or for another team. We've seen Celeste Taylor, who made it through training camp and things like that, but also got cut during the season and had to come on multiple hardship contracts for different teams, flying around the country, but she stayed ready every time her number was called. And that kind of just increased her stock as now she has a spot in the Phoenix Mercury.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I think of Jalen Sherrod, even for the Liberty, like she had, you know, really no spot in the league until it felt like the very last moment. And she had moments during the season with New York where you see the potential that she has. She like learned under Courtney Vandersloot. They were very close on the team together. So you'd hope some of Sloot's magic has rubbed off on Jalen Sherrod in a way. And I'm sure it did. And yeah, it should be interesting. But is there anything else that you wanted to add about the big board or about the draft or anything related to, I guess, next week, which is coming up?
I'm ready for the season to start. The draft and training camp is cute, but let's get on the court. I need to see some hoops. I've been deprived since Unrivaled, and I kind of dipped my toes into March Madness. That was pretty fun getting to learn about new people. Sarah Strong, sister, I know who you are now. I was not familiar with your game. I am so sorry, but I might have to tune into a couple of UConn games just to watch her play. Same with Malaysia Fuwali. I knew about her last season. But I want to see how she comes back after having a tough time in the Natty. I think she's going to come back like a dog. And I think she's going to show out.
Same. Totally agreed. I'm in the same camp. I want the season to start. The draft, I'm excited for it. I'll be there. Hopefully.
Credentialed.
Yes. Hopefully to talk to people in line. If I don't get scared and don't approach anybody. But I will be helping out and I'm looking forward to it. But this was a great first episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Sideline Sisters. Please do not forget, we are kindly asking you to subscribe, like, share this podcast episode if you really, really liked it. Rate it, comment about it. Tell us what you think about it. If you have any questions for us, please don't hesitate to write one in. And we will catch you guys next time.
Yeah, tell us what you all want to see, what you don't want to see, what you want to hear more of, different women that you want on the podcast. Like, we're definitely open to that. And we're on all platforms. So make sure you're following the Sideline Sisters podcast on every platform. Make sure you subscribe. But also with Winsider, we have a lot of work coming out. Ace has some works in the draft. We have previews coming up from this season where we're recapping the 2024 campaign for different teams and looking ahead to 2025. So make sure you all are going over to winsider.com and checking out our affiliates too.
All right. Catch you guys next episode.